All right, good people, time now for a little fun and foolishness here as we turn the boys in the band loose on some of the crazy acts, some of the crazy routines they made famous on the Jimmy Heat Show. Time to laugh a little. We've got a fellow with us tonight, good people. I think some of you have met him before, those of you that haven't. Let's make him welcome. Get him out here, Grandpa Lucifer Fluharty. Come on, Grandpa. Well, Grandpa, how you doing?
Huh?
I say, how are you doing?
Oh, about once every 6 months, I guess.
No! Doing, D-O-I-N-G.
Oh, I misunderstood you there, Mr. Jimmy.
Yeah, I figured you did by that answer. How's Grandma?
Well, better than nothing, I guess.
Come on, you're not trying to get along with me.
Well, she ain't trying to get along with me.
Oh, she's not?
No, boy, I tell you. Man, you know, the way she keeps grabbing at me, you know, I'm afraid that one of these days she's just gonna up and leave me.
Grandma leave you?
Yeah.
Don't worry about it. There's plenty more fish in the ocean.
Yeah, but my bait ain't what it used to be. In fact, do you know what the most useless thing on Grandma is?
No, what?
Me. She knows it too. In fact, the other day we were sitting out on the front porch and she looked at me and she said, Grandpa, you know when we were young, you used to hold my hand. So I reached over and held her hand. And she said, and when we were young, you used to kiss me. I figured, what the hell, you know. I went ahead and kissed her, you know. She said, and when we were young, you used to bite me on the neck and on the, you used to bite me sort of all over there. I jumped up and I started in the house. She said, what are you doing, you dead blame coward? I said, hell, I'm going in the house to get my teeth. Ooh, that woman made me so mad. I tell you, she made me so mad. I told her, I said, woman, I'm going in the house and get dressed, and I'm going uptown, and I'm just going to paint the town. She said, hell, I don't think you got the brush for it. I sort of figured she was right, though, so since she wanted to go down and see one of them little ballet shows down at the theater down there, well, I just figured I'd just take her to that, you know. So we got down there, and we got seats right down next to the stage there. And all of a sudden, these little gals come running out there with them little old tight underdrawers on. With that frilly dilly up around here, you know, and they'd run around their tippy toe like they're snucking up on somebody. So I sat there and I looked right straight up at them underdrawers for about 2 hours, you know. I took about as much of it as I could take, so finally I looked over at Grandma and I said, you know, I'm getting mine to liven up this show just a little bit. I'm getting mine to jump up on that stage and grab one of them little old gals and fling her down and just make mad, passionate love to her right in front of everybody. She said, yeah, Grandpa, but what you gonna do if they want an encore? Oh, that broke me down. So I told her, I said, look here, woman, I'm still just about as good a man as I used to be. In fact, to prove it, tonight I'm gonna make love to you 3 times. She said, 3 times? I said, yeah. So we went on home, we got there, and I made love to her the first time in flying colors, you know. My face got red. Then I got up and I went into the bathroom and she heard this noise in there and she came in there and there I was up on the commode seat, you know, jumping off onto the floor and jumping off. She said, Grandpa, I said, what are you doing up on that commode seat jumping off like that? I said, oh hell, I'm just trying to shake them other 2 times out of my head. Well, I guess I better be going now. But I tell you what, I may not be as good as I once was, but I'm as good once as I once was.
appreciates that. You want to hear one more? All right, let's get him Lou do a little truck driving song here for you. There was a little... But I don't know what he's going to do, but here he is, the old truck driver himself, Mr. Ken Idaho.
I used to drive a truck. In fact, I used to drive them pickup trucks, them 2x, 4x, 6x, and them busting them great big old mothers. But I can remember when I got my first truck. I carried it home and I parked it out in front of the house. And my little boy come out there and he went around that truck about 2 or 3 times and then he looked at me and said, "Crazy, Daddy, giddy up a go-go." I said, "Shaddy up and scram." But then, I got to thinking about it and I decided to name my truck Giddy Up and Go. But then one night I came in sort of unexpected like, and as I opened the front door, I heard my wife say, "Giddy up and go." And the back door slammed. But at first I thought she was talking about that truck, but there ain't no truck can slam no back door or anything. So I got suspicious, because, I'm more than just a pretty face. I'm pretty smart. But one thing that sort of made me suspicious is the fact that we moved from South Carolina to Texas and we still had the same ice man. Boy, did he have a big rifle. And another thing that made me special is I came home one day unexpected and there was my wife posing in the nude for a painter. The house painter. So then another night I came in sort of unexpected like. As I opened that front door I heard her say, "Giddy up and go." And that back door slammed again. And I walked in there in the bedroom and there she laid in the middle of the bed, barefooted up to her chin. With a wet towel hanging over the end of the bed. So I went in there and I got my razor and I started to stropping that thing. And she looked at me and she said, "Honey," I said, "what are you going to do?" I said, "If that towel dries soft, I'm going to shave." That's the first time I ever seen her get out of bed in the middle of the night to do her laundry. So I figured I'm going to catch them. So then I came in sort of unexpected one night and I snuck in the back door and I snuck up to the bedroom door. I snuck in the bedroom and there laying across the chair was a man's suit and his umbrella. And I looked over in the middle of the bed and there was my wife with another man. And I said, "Honey, what are y'all doing?" She looked at him and said, "See there, I told you he was stupid." She sure knows how to hurt a feller. So I looked at that guy and I said, "Oh, buddy," I said, "I'm going to teach you a lesson. I'm going to teach you a lesson you'll never forget." So I started across that room, and about that time he jumped out of bed, and I bet that booger was 7 feet tall. So I looked at him and I said, "You can't scare me. I'm still going to teach you a lesson." So I ran back across the room to where his clothes were laying, and I picked up his umbrella and I broke it across my knee, and I said, "There, now I hope it rains." Then I got to talking to him, and I found out the reason she was running around with another man is because my giddy up and go had done got up and went. So they got up and went to the other bedroom. And then when I got up the next morning, they were gone. My best friend had run away with my wife, and I didn't even know his name. But anybody run away with my wife is bound to be my best friend. But then one day, I was driving down old Route 66, And this great big old truck come around me, and he almost run me off the road, the darn road hog. And I looked on the back of it, and here's this sign, what said, "Giddy up a go-go." So I followed in this here little old truck stop, and I jumped out of the truck and went up under the truck, and there was my boy. So we got to talking, and I said, "Son, whatever happened to your mama?" He said, "Oh, she's dead, Pa." I said, "Dead? Well, what happened to her?" He said, "Well, Pa," it seemed like every time she saw a good-looking man, she'd get this itching between her toes, and she finally scratched herself to death." And I said, "Itching between her toes? Between which toes, son?" He said, "Between her two big toes." So you see, the moral of this story is if you got an itch, scratch it while you're young. Because, you know, making love to an old woman is like scratching a spot that don't itch no more.
Fairy tale, Idaho?
Oh, yes!
Of course, you all have heard the story of Cinderella.
Yes, they have.
About how she went to the ball and all, the fairy godmother changed her rags into rich-looking clothes and all this. Is that how it really happened?
Hell no.
Well, suppose you tell us how it happened. Mr. Ken Idaho.
Salvation Army got new uniforms.
Do what it is you're gonna do. Just tell your story, will you?
Well, you see, now, once upon a time in the kingdom of King Peter VIII, there lived this mother and her 3 daughters. See? Of course, this was a very respectful family, though, because, you see, the daughters all called the mother Madam. You know? And she ran this little old whatnot store where she sold odds or ends. Mostly ends. You know? But she was really a crack salesman, though. But she also had this mortuary on the side. You see, she was getting the business coming and going. But you see, now, one of these daughters was Mabel, and she got famous from out there saying, "Mabel, Mabel, get off the table, that damn quarters for beer." And then his other daughter's name was Flo, and she was sort of famous, too. Because, see, she showed up late at the end of a month one time. You're thinking too damn fast, you know. Either you laugh with the rest of them, or out you go. Anyhow, Flo showed up late at the end of the month one time, and her boyfriend wrote this song about her called "I Wonder If I Ever See My Girlfriend Flo Again." And the last daughter's name was Cinderella. Cinderella, see, Cindy they call her for short, but most of the boys called her Coffee because, see, she could be made instant. But she did like that regular grind. But you see, one time this year King was giving his fancy dress ball, and everybody was invited to it. But the madam told Cinderella, said, "Now you can't go to the ball because it's inventory time down at the cat house, and you got to stay at home and count the towels." That's one. So while Cinderella there counting the towels, all of a sudden this year fairy godmother appeared to her. So Cinderella said, "Who are you?" She said, "I'm your fairy godmother." She said, "Who?" She said, "Your fairy godmother." So she went right down the room and said, "Hey, Mama," said, "do I have a fairy godmother?" And her mother looked at her and said, "Well," said, "I don't know whether your godmother's fairy or not, but," said, "you got an uncle I'm not too damn sure about." So she went running back in the other room. She said, "Are you really a fairy?" And she looked at her and said, "Well, you kiss me and I'll tell you." So then this fairy godmother explained to Cindy that she could go to this fancy dress ball, see. And so she whisked this here little wand, and all of a sudden Cindy was decked out in her fancy evening dress,
And to top it all off, she had on glass panties. Now there's what I call putting a picture window on your playroom. Yeah. Room with a view. But anyhow, then it's your fairy godmother explained to Cindy and said that she had to be in by 12 o'clock because if she wasn't, her Doomafly, she would turn to a pumpkin. Oh, Cindy thought this would be a hell of a night bet with Peter the Pumpkin Eater. So about that time, after old fairy godmother, you waved that wand again, and his mighty carriage appeared, and Cindy was whisked away to the king's palace. See? And when she got to the palace, she got out of this carriage, and she heard this screaming and raising hell going on, see? So she walked up to the doorman, and she said, "Hey, so what's all this screaming and raising hell going on about?" So he looked at her and said, "Well, don't you know?" Said, "The king's ball comes off tonight." She said, "My God, I'd holler too." So she went walking inside. By the time she got inside, this year, Prince walked up to her. And he looked at her and said, "Do you dance?" She said, "Oh, yes, I love to." He said, "Well, hell, if you love to, so forget the dancing, it's going to make love, you know." So they jumped in his carriage, and they rode out into the park, and there they sat, arms around each other like this, smoking a cigarette, you know. Of course, you know, 2 cigarettes in the park is usually followed by 2 butts in the grass. Old Prince turned and looked at Cindy and said, "Look here, Cindy, baby." Said, "Are you going to be a camel or a Chesterfield?" She said, "What do you mean am I going to be a camel or a Chesterfield?" He said, "Well," I said, "are you going to satisfy or are you going to walk a mile?" She said, "That all depends on whether you're a regular king size." This year, ye old filter tilt. Would you believe that's roll your own? So his friend reached over and he grabbed her by the breast, and when he did, he knew he was going to be feeling low down the rest of the night. So all of a sudden he looked at her and said, "Well, Cindy, baby," said, "you got on glass panties." So what a coincidence. So look here, so I wear glass underwear too. She said, "Man's always thought you was crazy, now I can see you nuts." So she looked at him and she said, "I'm getting rid of these glass panties, so I don't like them. So every time I take them off, I get cut." And just about that time, the village clock started striking 12, and Cindy jumped out of the carriage and headed for home, leaving the prince holding his own. So he jumped out of the carriage and ran back to the palace, tried to find out who the heck she was, and he found out that she worked in the cheapest cat house in town, see. So he ran outside and he hailed his taxi. Said, "Hail, taxi," and taxi said, "Hell, yes." So he jumped in the taxi and here was this woman cab driver. He said, "Woman, to take me to the cheapest cat house in town." She said, "Hell, you're in it, boy." About 2 or 3 hours later, he finally showed up at the cat house. And he came up to Cindy and he proposed to her. Of course, you know what a proposal is. That there's a proposition that locks his nerves. And Cindy accepted his proposal, and he wrapped his arms around her time and a half, and he said, "Cindy, baby," said, "I love you so much that I could squeeze you into 100 pieces." He said, "Cindy, baby," said, "I love you so much I could squeeze you into 1,000 pieces." Then he said, "Cindy, baby," said, "I love you so much I could squeeze you into 1,000,000 pieces." By that time, he felt her crack. So Cindy rode with this here rich, handsome prince. Which just goes to show you that the man with the most dough makes the best cookies, don't it? But girls, don't worry about it. If you can't find a man with $1 million, just find you $1 million men with $1 each and work your way up.
Ken, Idaho, with his version of Little Brown Shack out back. Come on, Ken, sing, won't you?
They passed an ordinance said we'd have to tear down that little shack out back so dear to me. Though the health department says days were over, it was dead. It'll live forever in my memory. Don't let them tear that little brown building down. Don't let them tear that precious building down. Don't let them tear that little brown building down, 'cause there's not another like it in the country or the town. Now just sort of think about that a little bit. You know, don't let them tear them little brown buildings down. Because, you know, if they tearing all them little brown buildings, it's going to make juvenile delinquents out of the whole damn bunch of them. I mean, really, because what are we going to do at Halloween if we ain't got them outhouses? I mean, because I know when I was a kid, we used to go out, you know, at night on Halloween and tip over all the outhouses, all us boys done that. In fact, I remember one time my girlfriend went along with us, but she wouldn't go back no more. Some crazy fool tipped her over 3 times. Ugly and stink, God. But I tell you what, I remember one Halloween we was out, you know, tipping over the outhouse, and we got through, so we started for home, and I got there, and I looked up on top of the hill, and there it was, our outhouse still standing. I said, well, boy, we can't have that, so I ran up there and give that thing a shove, right down the creek. The next day, you know, Daddy called me and said, hey, son, did you turn over our outhouse last night? I said, yeah, boy, damn sure did. He said, come here, boys, I'm going to beat the fart out of you. I said, Daddy, you shouldn't do that now. He said, well, why not? I said, well, now you take George Washington. Now, when George told his daddy that he cut down the cherry tree, well, his daddy didn't whoop him because he told the truth. He said, yes, hell, and George Washington's daddy wasn't in that damn cherry tree. And besides that, George was still holding the hatchet, too. Right on my happy chin, peeping through that quarter moon, my daddy's sin had done so long before. It was in that quiet spot daily tears could be forgot. It gave the same relief for rich and poor. I like that. You know, gave the same relief for rich and poor. Because, man, I'm a firm believer in relief. In fact, I believe if you don't go when you gotta go, you may go and find you done been. But really, you know, those things, they gave relief for rich and poor, and they also gave relief for some of the most famous people of our day. In fact, there's a lot of famous people use those little dudes. I know because I passed by one the other day, and there's a famous man in there right then. Because I heard one guy, he asked it and said, are you Drew Pearson? Well, I think that's what he said. Sign. Not so long ago, I'd go creeping through the snow, that little shack behind my old hound dog, where I'd set me down to rest like a snowbird on his nest, and read the Sears and Roebuck catalog. I like that there, you know, sat there, we used to get there and read the Sears and Roebuck catalog, you know, thumb through that little dude, you know, and you come to the lingerie department. Sit there and meditate. Boy, I'm glad I got that word right. You know, I goofed it the other day, and we can't play there no more. But I tell you what, I remember one time my daddy wrote Sears and Roebuck. He said, dear Mr. Sears, Mr. Roebuck, said, send me a roll of your toilet paper. So they wrote back and said, dear sir, said, have you know, so we don't send out our toilet paper in packages of 1 like that. So we only send out in packages of 6 or a dozen. So from now on, said, please refer to our catalog before you order. So Daddy wrote him back, said, "Dear Miss Sayers, Mr. Roebuck, so if I had your damned old catalog, I wouldn't need your toilet paper." See, it's been a bad year for corn, and we didn't have no cobs. 3 red and 1 white one coming up, yeah. It was not a castle fair, but I could dream the future there. With my castle to the yellow jackets drawn, I could orbit round the sun, fight with General Washington. I'd be a king upon a golden throne. I like that, be a king upon a golden throne. You know, they had those thrones to fit everybody out there. You know, they had them little ones and them middle sized and them great big old holes for them great big old holes. Wait, put that. That ain't right. But I tell you what, I heard about it. This old boy one time went out there and nailed up one of those things about halfway, right down the middle. Said it's for his halfway friend, you know. I can see it now squirming over the one side there, you know. But I tell you what, there's one thing about those things, you could always tell when somebody was in it, because the door'd be closed. You go moseying by there and say, "Hey man, so what you doing in there?" Say, "Reading a book." Novel or a short story? Don't know yet. The sign wasn't fancy built at all, had newspapers on the wall, was air conditioned in the winter time. It was just a humble hut, but its door was never shut, and a man could get inside without a dime. Now, I like that part there, you know, a man could get inside without a dime, because that brings up a thought. The other day, I carried my dog to town, and, you know, he's just no country dog, you know, he don't know too much about nothing, nohow, you know. So I got him up there, and, you know, the first thing he saw was parking meters. He said, "Look at that place, look at there, pay toilets." Smart dog, though, he just walked right up there and put in his nickel, turned the handle on. But, you know, talking about those pay toilets, you know, people go around putting those dudes down, but they shouldn't do that. I mean, really, because if it hadn't been for pay toilets, there's a lot of dances we got right now that we wouldn't have if it hadn't been for them, because they inspired them. But now you take, for instance, the Charleston, you know. Out there's a man standing out in front of a pay toilet only 4 cents and change. And then out there limbo, you know. Out there's a Jew going underneath the door. Oh, we got some Jews here tonight. Yeah. And then you also take out there old twist now, you know. You know, for the life of me, I can't exactly see how it inspired the twist. Unless maybe somebody used up all the toilet paper. But I tell you what, if y'all ever sat right down and thought about this, I really give it a lot of thought and concentration and everything, that in the ladies' restroom, on the wall, there should be twice as much writing on the wall as is in the men's restroom wall. Because they got both hands free. I can see it now, write with one hand and copy with the other. But I don't know, I hear they don't do things like that. I've never been in a ladies' restroom. But, you know, always wanted to, though. I can see it now, the sign up on the door said ladies, and you walk right in, and there they sat. Is it something I can do for you boys? No, ma'am, just looking. I don't think they do those kind of things, but I tell you what, girls, if you can read the handwriting on the wall, you're in the wrong restroom. Hey, that brings up a thought, too. I remember one time about these 2 girls that got in the wrong restroom by mistake, and all of a sudden they discovered it was in the men's room, you know. So one of them, she got scared, one running out there, and the other, she just stood there calm and collected. See, business overnight. That's stupid. But I tell you what, getting back those little brown shacks, I remember one time out on the farm, our little brown shack got to stinking, smelling bad, that's a better word for it. So Grandma said, I'm going out there and clean that little dude out. And you know, the only thing she could find to clean it out with was gasoline. So boy, she ran out there and grabbed that gasoline and just scrubbed everything in and out real good, you know. She got through and she forgot to tell anybody she cleaned it out with gasoline. So here went Grandpa out there just moseying in, you know. Walked in, closed the door, sat down and started to light his pipe. By the time he struck that magma, boom! Just blow him up in the bushes about 40 feet, you know. Here comes Grandma come run out there and grab him and said, Grandpa, Grandpa, I said, what happened? He said, it must have been something I ate. Don't let them tear that little brown building down. Don't let them tear that precious building down. Don't let them tear that little brown building down. Cause it's down there to like it in the country or the town. Yeah, yeah, yeah!
One more? Well, you're not going to believe this, but he's going to tell the story of Little Red Riding Hood. You mean you got a different version of it?
Well, it's just a little bit. I mean, it's changed just a little bit right in the middle. It tells the truth.
Who's that walking through them woods? Why, it's Little Red Riding Hood. Now let me tell you the story, see. Now once upon a girl, there's a time. I mean, once upon a time, there's a girl. That's what. Phew, hell, I like it better the first way. But see, it's this girl named Little Red Riding Hood. But you see, her real name was Virginia. But all the boys called her Virgin for short. But not for long. And you see the way she got her name Little Red, she was always going fishing with the boys and she'd always come home with a little red snapper. What, damn, we got some swingers here tonight, ain't we? Yeah. But you see, she had boyfriends by the score and most of them did, you know. But she was an outdoors type girl, though. In other words, she had the bloom of a youth in her cheeks and the cheeks of a youth in her bloomers. But you see now, one day she was on her way through the woods to Grandma's cat house to pick up her W-2 form. Either I'm talking slow or y'all thinking fast. When she right up on this here great big old wolf. Now y'all know what a wolf is, don't you? That's a man with a strong will looking for a girl with a weak womb. But see, all the girls call this wolf detergent because he worked real fast and didn't leave no ring behind. In fact, the only reason he was running through the woods is because he heard the trees were putting out. But he volunteered to walk Little Red to Grandma's cat house. So they walked along that little way, and that's why he turned to her and said, Little Red, said, I sure do get tired of walking all these pregnant girls to Grandma's house. She said, just a damn minute there. I said, I'm not pregnant. He said, yes, hell, you ain't to Grandma's yet. So they moseyed on that a little bit further, and finally he turned around, he grabbed her and said, Little Red, so I'm going to take you back in these woods here, and I'm going to make mad, passionate love to you. She said, blah. So stick to the script, fool. You're supposed to eat me. So she done jerked loose from him and dug out for Grandma's house, but he knew a shortcut, you know. So he was running down this road just fast as little old feet could carry him. I mean, he was digging out, and all of a sudden he saw this sign up there that says, 5 miles to Grandma's cat house. I mean, boy, he just tore out down that road, you know. That's why I came this other sign that said 1 mile to Grandma's cat house. I mean, boy, he poured on the steam then. I mean, he's digging out down through that. All of a sudden, he come up on this great big old house, and here was this sign up on the front of the house that said, Grandma's cat house, you're there. So he went right up on the porch, and here sat Grandma.
So she looked right at him and she said, that'd be $5, please. So just go down the hall, third door on the right. So man, he was ready, you know, so he handed her $5, ran down the hall, third door on the right, jerked open the door, went running through the door, and fell in this great big old mud puddle. And here's this sign on top of the mud puddle that says, you have just been screwed by Grandma. That's where I usually get screwed too. So he picked himself up and he run back around funny. He said, look here, woman. Said, I thought you had some women here. She said, well, I'm a woman. Said, won't I do? He said, no, you're not exactly what I had in mind. Said, you're too fat. She said, well, wouldn't you want to try a new wrinkle on love? So he didn't want to, so he grabbed her, he chunked her back in the closet, grabbed one of her bonnets, put it on, jumped over in the middle of the bed, and about that time up come little Red, you know. So she come running in there and she said, ooh, Grandma. So what great big old eyes you have. He said, yeah, baby, but I still can't see. She said, can't see? Said, can you see my hands? He said, no. She said, well, can you see my head? He said, no. She said, well, can you see this part of my body right here? He said, yeah. She said, I know what's wrong with you. She said, you're cockeyed. So then she looked at me and she said, Grandma, so what great big old teeth you have? He said, yeah, baby, it's so much better to eat you with. She said, oh, so you will eat me whole? He said, no, I'm going to spit that part out. Just around the edges. So about that time, she jumps out of bed, and he jumps out of bed and started jerking off all of her clothes, and she started screaming. And about that time, down the road came this man on his bicycle. And hearken, he heard that poor little damsel in distress, you know. So he went running in the house, he grabbed this old woman, he beat up on him, grabbed this poor little naked Red Riding Hood, ran back outside, jumped up on his bicycle, picks up that little old naked Red, and set her down side saddle in front of him. And down the road he peppered. After a while, she turned and she said, hey, man, so you're not very observant. So you hadn't even noticed that I hadn't even got on any clothes. He said, no, ma'am, so you're not very observant. So you hadn't noticed that this is a girl's bicycle. Taking her home the hard way. So they rode off into the distance, happy about the whole thing. He was happy about the hole, and she was happy about the thing.